2 civilians and 22 soldiers total left Shelbyville on the mission.
They would go in small groups of 3 and 4.
Head to Georgia.
Steal a train called the General.
But by the time they got on that train, those 24 men were now down to 20. 2 civilians, 18 soldiers. But the plan, it was still intact. The Raiders were going to race north on the train and rip up the railroad.
And then the Confederates couldn't get reinforcements from Marietta up to Chattanooga. Well, everything fell apart very quickly. William Fuller, the conductor of the General, he started chasing the train and screaming, "They're stealing my train, they're stealing my train."
A lot of that falling apart happened near and in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And today, you can find many of the places where some of the worst of the falling apart happened.
The engine ran out of wood and water at Ringgold.
There's still today a marker right next to the railroad where the train still runs today.
They had to abandon the train.
They were just under 20 miles from Chattanooga.
So they actually then were captured over the course of the next weeks.
And that is when this story takes a dark turn for the Raiders.
Taken here in Chattanooga in a prison.
During the few weeks the Raiders were in the jail in Chattanooga, James Andrews, the civilian leader, was court-martialed there. The corner of 4th and Market in downtown Chattanooga, that was the location of the old National Guard Armory building. In that building is where they held the court-martial for James Andrews. He was tried as a spy and convicted and sentenced to death by hanging, and he was hanged there in Atlanta, Georgia. That spot now where the National Guard Army used to sit, there's now a Mexican restaurant there. For years, it was an Applebee's. The rest of the jailed Raiders were moved to Atlanta as well. 7 more of them,
including Shadrach and Wilson, were hung on June 18, 1862.
Now 7 men stood with their boots planted firmly in this Atlanta, Georgia dirt on these final moments of their short lives.
Philip Gephart Shadrach was a very religious man.
One of his comrades described him like this:
almost being obnoxious. When he was being taken out to be hung, he turned to the group and he said, "I'm not yet ready to meet my Jesus."
On June 18, 1862, Shadrach and the 6 others were hanged near the old Oakland Cemetery in Atlanta.